on the line.
Hi, Dr. Ande.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. This is Bobby Thompson, of course, and I'm here with my spouse, Alana Nicole Sholar, who is the author of the book Hung in the Middle.
Okay. And tell everybody a little bit about your background.
Okay. Of course, what we'd like to talk about today is the book Hung in the Middle, A Journey of Gender Discovery, that was written by my spouse, Alana. You can read the first chapter at hunginthemiddle.com. And the situation is, Alana was born as Alan in Kentucky in 1961. Kentucky is a place where the word transgender is not a household word, so Alan spent the majority of his life up into young adulthood even not being aware of the word transgender and why he felt different. And in the mid-'90s, Alan and I actually enjoyed a relationship that lasted for about 3 years. And then I think it was around 2005, I started hearing these rumors about Alan having changed his name to Alana and wanting to become a female, and it just kind of blew me away. And then in 2006, I saw Alana for the first time and told her that I didn't want to have a thing to do with her because I thought she was a freakazoid. That might be a Kentucky term. I'm not sure, but I'm sure you understand what I meant.
Right.
But anyway, that was in December of 2006, and then in December of 2008, Alana and I were married. And so Alana lost her job at the factory where she worked closed in, I think it was January of 2009, actually, is the actual close date. It didn't have anything to do for a while, so she sat down and started writing her story, which has turned into Hung in the Middle, A Journey of Gender Discovery.
Okay.
So that's where we're coming from. And she's here with me, so if you have any specific questions for her.
Good morning, Alana.
Hello, how you doing?
Fine. So let's talk a little bit, Alana, if you would, about how you decided to make the transgender movement.
Well, a whole lot went into it, and let me know if you can't hear me okay, because I'm kind of choked up. But I was forced into a decision because of health issues. My doctor knew I was hiding something because my blood pressure was like a roller coaster. It was going up and down so quickly that he couldn't control it. And so on one of my visits, he closed the door and told me, he said, I'm your doctor. You've got to tell me what's going on. He said, because I give you about a year to live with this blood pressure issue before you're going to die. Because he said, there's no way that your blood pressure can keep this roller coaster ride thing going up in a vein or something, not just pop. And, of course, I was having really severe headaches due to all that and everything. So I come out to him and everything and told him what the problem was and what I'd been going through most of my life. And he patted me on the leg and said, well, honey, we can fix that. And so health issues forced my hand. Or I may have stayed in hiding, I don't know. But it was kind of boiled down to, do you want to live or do you want to, not live? So I come out and started the female hormones and went into therapy. And once I started the hormones, my blood pressure dropped. It got under control, and a lot of health issues I was faced with, including severe depression, pretty much lightened up. And for the most part, some of my problems just disappeared and went away. So that is what really prompted me to go ahead and come out to my family and friends and let them know that, I'd been basically living a lie and lying to them most of my life about who and what I was.
And that's another part that had to be really hard, especially in Kentucky.
Yes, it was really difficult. And of course, my fears you have to keep in mind, I live in a very small town in Kentucky. We're between Lexington, Kentucky, and the capital, Frankfort, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And the town I live in is Versailles, Kentucky, which is in part of Woodford County. And our population here is fairly small, so, word of mouth gets around town pretty quickly when things happen. And so, of course, my parents was always the type, they were accepting, but their concerns was always, what will our friends say? What will our friends think? And so, I finally reached the point where I told my parents one day, I've waited a long time for your friends to die so I can come out, and they're not dying, so I've got to live for me and not worry about your friends. And when I did come out, and especially after I wrote the book, the small town that I'm living in has fully supported me. I have a deputy sheriff here in town that is one of my biggest fans and friends, and we were also schoolmates. The mayor here is an old schoolmate and everything, and it's a friend of Bobby's of mine. And so all in all, I have faced nothing, no problems or anything from the people here in this small town. If anything, I've really felt supported and have just really enjoyed the fact that I can live freely and openly. And I'm an honest person. I will not lie to a soul, so if they ask me a question, they better be prepared for the answer because, it's going to be the true one.
Dr. Ande,
Mm-hmm.
to me, what Alana just explained about the fear of coming out and saying anything and how that kept her living in misery, affected her health and everything is such a great example of how often people let the fear affect us instead of just facing that fear and doing something about it. Of course, we're people who believe that everything happens in its own right timing, and apparently it wasn't the right time for Alana to come out before she did. But look at how the fear gripped her for so many years unnecessarily because the result was not what she had imagined it would be once she did make the decision to come out.
Right, that's true too. But again, as all things happen in their own time, it could also be when the time Alana came out, the town was more accepting at that point as well, because once you change, everybody else has to change.
Right. That's a good perspective for that too. I appreciate you saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I kind of feel like, like you all just stated, if I had to come out earlier, it could have really had some bad consequences because, over time people have become more open and accepting. And, as the years have passed, if I had come out sooner, I might have met a lot of resistance, and it may have affected me in a negative manner to the point of, because a lot of, I don't know how familiar some people are that might be listening to this. A lot of transgender people suffer from depression and stuff, and there's been many that just committed suicide rather than deal with it. So, it's just not an easy thing for a lot of people, and, but suicide is never the answer for any problem. I just can't relate to that. I've been suicidal myself in my time, but I've always kept a handle on that and been able to keep a grip on that because I felt like that, I had too much to live for. I had too many things I wanted to do, and being 6 foot under the ground isn't going to get those things done. And so, you have to really get a grip on your life and put things in perspective and say, I can make a difference, I can make a change, get on with your life and be who you are.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's good that you had that perspective, and we wish so many others did have it and didn't feel the need to be trapped. And it's true, as you said, they could have turned a completely different way had you come out sooner than the town in and of itself was ready. I mean, you could say, you're friends with the mayor of the town. Come on, you guys went to school together.
Yeah, and I was raised on the horse farms here in Kentucky. So that kind of in itself was a lot because you were expected. When I was a kid, my father was always big into music, so we all had to play music, and we had a family band for a while, and you had to be the rough, tough cowboy because you were a boy. You were expected to act rough and tough, and at least that was my perspective, and that's what I saw. So with that in mind, I was trained to be a jockey before I got too tall. Galloped thoroughbreds for several years on the racetrack, and that was my biggest dream at that point in my life. And but with all this stuff that I was harboring and everything, I was living a really risky lifestyle, and with no fear of dying, because dying, of course, to me would have been a relief. And I really believe that my lack of fear of dying is what saved my life, because I was in car wrecks at 115 miles an hour in batter, and I've been kicked and stomped on all over by horses, but I have yet to ever break a bone in my body. And so, I think that because I had no fear of dying, that for some strange reason I may have done a lot of stupid, crazy things, and for whatever reason, the universe, God, Buddha, whoever you relate to, is looking at as your protector, must have had a purpose for me to stay here, and I was protected from harm for some reason. I have no idea. That's the kind of an area I have a hard time talking about, because I really myself don't explain a lot about or understand a lot about religion and stuff, even though I do have my beliefs.
Of course. Well, if you look at it from the outsider's perspective, you were kept around to be able to write this book and to be on the show, then hopefully you can reach other people who are going through similar situations as yourself and Bobby had to go through, and maybe they can reach out to you, or at least get the book and see, hey, I'm not alone in this.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because within a month or so of the book being released, of course, Facebook is a big platform for communication now, but Alana received a private message on her Facebook page that simply read, reading your book may have saved my life. Thank you. And, of course, we would love for this book to become a bestseller, because in doing so, we believe it will help others. But no matter what the accomplishment this book has in front of it, that right there is the greatest accomplishment we could have made. We know we helped somebody.
Right. You touched at least one person. Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that in and of itself, and we're going to do our best to get you out to more people. that's what I.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
But that in and of itself, that speaks volumes. Even if if you just touch the life of one person.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like I say, it's really been a trip for me. Just to give a little more detail about one other event that happened after I wrote the book. Having to relive all the experiences, which I wrote the book, and I had to I wound up rewriting the book about 3 times before I finally got it into the a form that I could be happy with. And so, and anybody that's ever written or anything, I visualize. I can see everything that I write. I'm writing stories now, and the characters tell the stories,
Right.
I know who the characters are because they introduce themselves to me in the story. Well, when I rewrote, when I was writing Hung in the Middle, of course, I reflected back. I could see everything crystal clear, just as if I was right there doing it at that moment. And so, therefore, by the time the book was ready to be published, I had fallen back into depression again and wound up, not only seeing a therapist but a psychiatrist, because, I had really fallen back in that what I call the dark area of my life, and I really struggled with that for a couple of years, trying to climb back out, and it just really, writing the book really knocked the wind out of me, so it was really hard to have to go back through all that stuff and relive it. And just to touch on one other little thing, when I wrote the book, when I come out about being transgendered, within a few months of telling my parents, my family, and my friends I was transgendered, I had to come out to them that I had been diagnosed with HIV. So, of course, that's one of the toughest things to talk about when I'm doing speaking engagements and stuff is touching on that aspect of a part of my life where I made a huge mistake, or I won't say mistake. I don't like calling things a mistake, but I had an experience and I didn't handle it properly, the experience, and so therefore, I wound up with HIV.
When people go to the hunginthemiddle.com and go to the media press page, there's a particular interview with Dangerous Lee, who her interviews, this particular one especially, relates to living an exceptional life with HIV, and you can get a lot of information just by reading that interview that Dangerous Lee did, and of course it is there on our website.
Absolutely, right.
So, a lot of people, of course, I had one friend that I was seeing, a male friend, that informed me that, one, if you come out about being transgender, gay people aren't going to like you, which he was wrong. That was his mindset and his mindset only. And one thing I like people to understand when I'm talking, especially on the air or whatever, is any opinion that I express is totally my own opinion, and I do not pretend to speak for the entire transgender community or any soul that has HIV or anything like that. These are only my life experiences that I'm sharing with everybody, and it's not that I'm saying everybody has to do this or everybody has that. Everybody has to be who they are and live the way that they feel comfortable living. When I was diagnosed with the HIV, the same friend told me that if I told people I had HIV, that they would shun me, hate me, and all this stuff. Well, and again, going back to the little town of Versailles, I walked in a Kmart, and 3 people in that one trip to Kmart came up, put their arms around my neck and hugged me and shed a few tears and told me how sorry they were to hear that, I'd been diagnosed with HIV and how much they cared about me. So the person was wrong.
Right.
They were not correct, and they were trying to instill fear in me where it wasn't welcome or needed.
Right. So now they're 0 for 2.
Right. Exactly. Amen, sister. Amen.
But you're right. That's it. They were letting their own fears to influence you, and that's good that you didn't go through that. Plus, with so much more information out there, anyone, male or female, adult or child, can have HIV.
Absolutely. And, a lot of people get the wrong impression and wish to, when you say HIV, they want to say, oh, you have AIDS. No, I have HIV. They're 2 different things.
Yeah.
AIDS and HIV are totally 2 different things. If we could have got the handle on HIV early in the day, there would be no such thing as HIV or AIDS because, the medications worked. I was told by a doctor that for years the reason people kept going into AIDS because they were sharing their drugs with a partner or something like that, and therefore they thought the drugs weren't working properly. But in fact they were. They've just been used improperly.
Right.
And so as long as you take care of yourself, take your medications, and do the things your doctor tells you to do, you can live a long, healthy life. You can be just like anybody else, and it's not, I don't want to say it's not a big deal. It is a big deal, but it doesn't have to destroy your life. You can still have a life. You can still have a relationship. You just have to make some minor changes and, alter that life just a little bit, but it can be done.
Absolutely.
Oh, and just for the record, the person in question that told me that people would not like me for having HIV, he was actually the only person that walked away from me and wouldn't have anything to do with me until he was later diagnosed with HIV himself, and then he wanted to be best friends again all of a sudden.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure how to respond to that. I know how I normally would have responded to that.
Yeah.
I'll be nice. It's a good show.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I mean, there are certain things you can't say on there that you would love to get out of the system, but you can't.
Yeah, but, as it says, it all goes around.
Exactly.
So we'll go
It does.
Yeah,
And I mean, he knows now, and I'm sorry that he had to learn the way that he learned.
Right.
And all that, but people, I wrote a piece this morning, and I absolutely hate prejudice of any kind in any form. I don't care what it is. Prejudice of any kind is just wrong to me, and I wrote a piece about that this morning that I hope people accept and understand. And again, I praised in it that these are solely my opinions, and everything. But but I think, in a lot of ways, there's a lot of things in life that people need to let go of. And if they would just learn that love is always the answer and just, let go of all this hate and all this drama, oh, God, what a world this would be.
Yeah, but, they love the drama.
Yeah. And, and they love it because, Hollywood teaches them drama.
Yeah.
Right, and that's where a lot of this, a lot of people, sadly enough, are weaned on that. You've got that disinformation disconnect, and Hollywood thrives on it, and that's where they get this from. And it's like, people don't really do this, and this group doesn't do that, and this group doesn't act like. Stop.
Right. Well, and the news media. Well,
yes,
let's do not forget the news media.
Oh, they're just as bad. It's like, do you guys think before you open those mouths of yours?
Yeah. Used to, the only bad news out there was found in the Enquirer, that kind of spread misleading information. But since Enquirer seemed to thrive and make it on that information, I think our whole media system said, hey, let's do the same thing so we can make more money, because drama sells,
Yeah, yes, it does.
And I would like to see somebody come out with a news station called the Good News Station. We only tell the good stuff.
Right. That would be a good idea. Well, maybe you guys could do that. You can have something extra to put on your blog and get more people to come visit.
There you go.
Yeah. We tell you
and
about
have people news stories.
The good stuff. The man that ran the house and saved the woman, or tell the people that helped do something good and created good and saved a life, or changed the life or whatever, instead of all this drama stuff.
The town that we live in is so small that we've actually had newspaper articles before that told about the dead possum on Elm Street that got picked up by the road department.
Wow.
That's news in this area.
That was front page, by the way.
Oh, no. I actually lived in one of those, a little town like that, and it's, unfortunately, they were at one point getting absorbed by, as the towns expanded, so they were getting a little absorbed, but then the main job industry there closed, so everything came to a grinding halt. So it's stuck between being the little town and being absorbed, so they kind of got
right.
Yeah.
Transition.
Well, they kind of, at one point, they over the years have talked about one day that Versailles would be connected to Lexington, which I think will be fought fiercely for a long time, because there's too many farms in between us and Lexington, horse farms and different things that it would ruin the area if that ever happened.
Right. And and that's how that little town used to be. It was almond orchards. That's all you had.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
And then suddenly I went through there again, and all the beautiful almond orchards were gone, and there are all these track houses. Oh. And all the beautiful land, and then all of a sudden, guess what? Your main industries that were around there shut down, and now you're stuck with nowhere to grow. You can't change. It's not like you're going to tear down the track houses, even though they probably should. They're not going to tear those down. And, you can't plant almonds again, so where do you go now?
Right.
Eventually, the town's going to end up having to die out anyway because you killed your own lifestyle, which is sad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is, and that's kind of happened here to a point, they've really tried to keep restrictions in place.
Mm-hmm.
And the government has really hurt Kentucky quite a bit, and one, the tobacco industry was huge in Kentucky, and I understand that smoking's not good for you, and stuff like that, but, the tobacco farmer, it was his life. I mean, them farms went from generation to generation. It was a family thing that was passed down. And so when it got hammered, they still have crops here, but they're larger crops and fewer people are doing it, and handling that. But then the government decided to take away a lot of the tax shelters and tax breaks from the rich, and say, well, just because you own thoroughbred racehorses, you can't have these certain deductions anymore and write them off your taxes. Well, since they didn't have that tax break and couldn't use that for a tax break anymore, a lot of your celebrities got out of the horse industry.
Moved to other states.
And stuff. And so that really, for a long time, that really damaged the horse industry here and put a hardship on the thoroughbred horse industry, which is huge in Kentucky. But then you had the Arabs come over and got involved, and that's when you started having thoroughbred horses selling for better than $1 million a piece, and stuff, and so it picked back up.
Right.
So, but right now with the current recession and everything, it's really damaged the horse industry again, it's dropped off again. And one thing I'm seeing now that I didn't think I'd ever see is horse farms going up for sale. Horse farms going up on the auction block, fewer employees. My brother still works with horses, and they work their buns off because they can't afford to hire enough employees to run the farm because of money. And so, it's a lot of things in for sales in the surrounding area. The horse farms are really getting hurt by that. So I understand what you're saying about the almond trees, and stuff.
Right. We have a question in the chat room. Is there anything that you regret putting in the book?
No, absolutely not, because the one thing that I can't personally tolerate, is a liar. And that's a strong word, and I hate but for lack of a better word, I don't like people to lie to me. And so, therefore, I can't lie to people. And so that was one reason I had to come out, because I knew I was lying. I was telling the biggest lie of all, and I couldn't stand myself for lying. So when I wrote the book, it had to be everything. You had to be honest. And so everything that is in that book is open, honest, true, and I don't regret writing a word of it. Matter of fact, if anything, there are things that didn't make it into the book that I wish had of, but because of the length of the book and what my publisher saw as important and maybe not so important, there were things left out, but nothing crucial, mind you. It was mostly, maybe a car wreck scene or something like that, but all the important information is there. They're coming out about being transgendered, the rough and rugged lifestyle, the bar hopping,
sexual lifestyle too.
Questions my sexual lifestyle, being bisexual, liking both. I like I said, I've never been prejudiced. So my lifestyle, sexual lifestyle, there was no problem with age, gender, race. I mean, there was just nothing, that I saw as taboo. So,
well, you better back up on that age thing, baby. You better not let people think that.
well,
21
legal age. We'll back up. But my point, usually, to be honest with you, my first wife was 10 years older than I was.
You tell my age, I'm going to kick your honey.
Wait a minute.
Bobby is just a twin older than I am. Like 6 years. But and at one point at 20, I was seeing a woman that was 40. So usually I went more for, not only only once I dated a girl that was my age, or even close to it. So now I say strictly, I was way beyond staying legal. So as far as that goes,
cute. I like that.
The other direction now, that's not even a mere possibility. That's just wrong. So.
Yeah, right. That's true. That's very true. But that's good. You were looking for some stability. That's what you're going for. Some stability.
Right. Yeah, stability.
Okay.
I want to say something, but I tell you what, I really want to live throughout this state, so I'm not going to make that remark.
What is that thing about older women make beautiful lovers or whatever baby said is?
Something like that. So anyway, so no, I do not regret writing anything or any of the information I placed in the book at all. And I just, I hope people when they read it, they just learn from it and figure out that there's nothing in life that that you should be ashamed of. If you're doing something and you're ashamed of it, you're doing the wrong thing. It's not for you, and everything. But it doesn't make that thing wrong. It's just not for you.
We did have a friend locally that after she read the book, she came to us and almost red-faced said, "I can't believe you all put so much personal information in that book." And we said we had to, because that was what was making up what was our life experience. That had to be a part of the book because it was part of the life and the learning.
Right, right.
And so, you just have to, if you're not going to tell the truth and tell the entire story, then why tell the story at all? I mean, you just can't have to do it. Like at one point, Bobby's family didn't know I'd been diagnosed with HIV. We were afraid to tell them, didn't know how they were going to take it and respond to it. They knew about the transgender part, and they had a hard time with that. So if we threw HIV in the mix, I thought I might be looking at a lynch mob, coming to the house. So, we was kind of reluctant. And so when I started writing the book, we had even talked about not talking about the HIV because of her family. And my doctor went ballistic. He was like, "How can you not tell about having HIV? It's the most important thing that you could even bring into the book." But outside of being transgendered, he said it's got to be there.
Very important experience.
Right.
And so we finally, Bobby told her family about the HIV, and they had a hard time with it, but they got over it.
Yeah, we went through our moments.
We went through our moments. And so, but we had to do what we had to do to reach the goal that we desired.
Absolutely. Well, in-laws are in-laws anyway. It doesn't matter whether you had HIV or not. They in-laws. They're going to give you a hard time. That's their job. It's in the book. It says that in the book of in-laws.
Right.
So, but that's good though. I'm glad that you did get through the book and you got it out there and you're reaching more people. We look forward to having you come back on the show again when we have a little bit more time, because we're running out of time today. So anytime you feel that, get with me, we'll reschedule you and get you back on here again, and we could talk a little bit more. And perhaps, there's obviously there's seems to be a second, maybe even a third book that you could get out of, what you're going through.
Well, actually, there are. I'm in the process of writing mine. Alana got to tell her side of our experience. Now I'm going to tell my side. Right now my book is entitled My Husband Looks Better in Lingerie Than I Do, Damn It.
Dang.
And
then, harsh.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't wait to hear about this.
Yeah.
Well, you definitely have to come back on this show.
Okay.
Well, and realize the time is short and everything. I would like to just make one quickie before we have to leave and let everybody know that the book can be found at on Amazon. Just go in there and look up Hung in the Middle. They can go to www.hunginthe.middle.com and they can see all kinds of videos of where I spoke at the University of Kentucky and different things, and read all kinds of information and just learn a whole lot about who we are and what we're doing here. And they just, if they go to hunginthe.middle.com, they can read all about us.
Including Chapter 1 of the book is there available.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they could read Chapter 1, and also I welcome anybody to type in Alana Nicole Sholar on Facebook and hook up with us on the fan page.
And feel free to ask any kind of questions. Well, I mean, we figure that if somebody's asking questions, then they're seeking an answer, and when you ask a question, you'll get an honest answer from us.
But keep in mind, it will always be from our perspective and our personal opinions, and we never try to speak for a community as a whole because we can't do that. Right.
Well, I appreciate you both coming on the show today. I look forward to you coming back soon.
Thank you.
Well, we had a great time.
That's good. It was good to hear that. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in to this edition. And we'll be back again next week with more great and hopefully fun and lively guest for you. So goodbye, everybody.